Eagles fans, this is Mike Kaye from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome to the No Huddle Show podcast, where we discuss everything and anything Philadelphia Eagles. You can read our content on NJ.com/Eagles, bookmark that, and you can subscribe to our exclusive Eagles Insider Text service, where we'll break news, give you insider observations, and provide in-depth analysis. Through Eagles Extra, you can send questions and comments directly to us, and we'll respond to your phone. With me today, as always, is my fellow Eagles beat reporter, Chris Franklin. Today, we're going to discuss Jalen Hurts, baby!
Oh, he's back. It's back.
Doug Pederson's absolutely garbage approach to gamemanship, and where the Eagles go from here. On that note, Chris, how you doing today?
Well, after hearing those docile tones that you just went ahead and just belted out for everybody, I'm doing okay. You know, it's been a while since we've seen a win, man. How are you?
Well, you know, you know what? It was an impressive win. As somebody who's covered this team in their two games that they brutally lost to the New Orleans Saints under Doug Pederson, I was really impressed by the way they came out. A lot of people thought that they were going to get trounced. Facebook was particularly negative, thought they were just going to be bad and get their butts kicked. And Doug Pederson crafted his best offensive plan of the season. The offense flowed throughout that first half. If Jake Elliott doesn't miss a chip shot field goal, they scored 20 points for the first time in a first half all season. I thought Jalen Hurts played well, PFF to be damned. And I thought the running game just really, really worked. This was not a masterpiece, but it was a very good change of direction and turnaround for this team. Carson Wentz, who at this point, and look, I'm not trying to dismiss Carson Wentz. I do think that he's redeemable. I've said this several times. I think the Eagles view this as a reset, and they're going to eventually go back to him. But man, Jalen Hurts was very, very fun to watch. This was a fun game. This was a fun game to cover, which has been a rarity this year for us. You know, you can't take stock in wins or losses as a beat writer, but you can have fun doing your job. And I think this was a step in the right direction for everybody involved, except for the New Orleans Saints, whose fans are probably still complaining about everything, despite a bunch of no calls in this game on both sides. So, Chris, this is a very weird win because of the way Doug Pederson handled his post-game press conference. And look, I know this is Philly. We overanalyze almost everything. But I got to tell you, I've seen kids go to dentist appointments and have more enthusiasm than Doug Pederson showed after this win. What did you think of his demeanor after this post-game press conference?
See, I had no problem with what he did. I think the way he went about it, you have to take an approach as one game at a time. You really do. And it's one of the most frustrating, cliche-driven things, but you really have to be tempered because you can't get too high with the wins because you can't go ahead and become overconfident. You can't get too low because you don't want to self-doubt yourself. It really was. The one thing I will say, it really was truly that offense clicked on all levels for the first time in, who knows, I'd probably say since it's been the first time in a few weeks that offense clicked. And it really was, it wasn't just Hurts. It was the running game, that offensive line. I'm going to admit I was wrong, but take Peters out, that offensive line, you put in Herbig and Driscoll and everybody else, that offensive line looked great. I'm waiting for the highs. Hate to say I told you so, start playing from your side. But yeah, it was right. You were right on that.
Are you ready for me to poke holes in your argument that it's one game at a time?
Bring it, because I think it really is with this.
Okay, cool. Well, if it's one game at a time, then why aren't you excited about a win? You're 1-0 in this game. That if it's one game at a time, I'm not saying you've got to hang banners, but like the dude slouched like he was a toddler being asked to eat his greens at dinner. Like he looked like he woke up from a nap. Like the guy needed some vitamin.
To us.
Yeah, why? It was a win. This was the first positive. The only real negative. I did my studs and duds. I had 2 duds. And it was Jake Elliott missing a field goal and Travis Fulgham not being involved in the offense. Like, this was a positive performance for this team. The defense played well. PFF didn't grade the offense very, very well, but at least it flowed much better than it did in the month prior. Doug Pederson had never beat Sean Payton. He beat Sean Payton. Like, here's the thing. He was asked 3 separate times. I don't know if some people didn't hear his answer to the initial question, but he was asked 3 times, is Jalen Hurts the starting quarterback for week 15? And each time he hedged and didn't answer the question. He then said it's not just about one player. Okay, cool, Doug. So if it's not just about one player, why is the head coach taking into consideration the feelings of the former franchise quarterback and not just inexplicit and not rationally naming Jalen Hurts, who just had the best performance of a quarterback all season, as his quarterback moving forward? It's obvious to all of us that is what's going to happen. Why not just be transparent? The main issue I have with this team is their reliance on gamesmanship that doesn't matter. Gamesmanship is important in the NFL, but not when everything is obvious. There's nothing that this team does that's a complete surprise, outside of maybe Quez Watkins doubling up on the snaps that Travis Fulgham got. And at that point, it doesn't really matter, right? There's not a lot of film out there on Quez Watkins. And he still had 1 catch for 3 yards. The gamesmanship is a waste of time and effort, and it only makes this game look like a half measure. This was a huge win for this team. They had not beaten a team with a winning record all season. They had not done well against a very good defense all season. They really hadn't shown anything of this ilk up till this point. And Doug Pederson is sulking, slouched on a podium at a press conference, looking like, he's hiding a secret that all of us already know. I just don't understand the logic here. And okay, cool. It's not about one person. It's not, you say, he even said on WIP that part of it was handling the emotions of everybody else's performance and, considering Carson Wentz's feelings. Cool, Doug. Well, what about Jalen Hurts' feelings after he put forth a really strong effort and willed this team to their first win in 5 weeks? The defense seemed to really back up Hurts in every single way possible. For the first time in a very long time, a turnover by the defense was rewarded with points. And for the first time, they only had to worry about 1 turnover in this game. And they won the turnover battle. Like, give me a break. Like, I understand the logic of, hey, you want to tell the quarterbacks first if this was like a tight game or Jalen struggled. But Jalen went out there and he led 4 scoring drives. Yes, he only passed for 167 yards and a touchdown, but he also ran the ball 18 times for 106 yards. And 3 of those runs were for minus 1 or 2 yards because he was in the victory formation. They ran 11 of their first 13 plays went for positive yardage. That's unheard of for Carson Wentz this season. He was pressured, I believe, 8 times and completed all of his passes for 82 yards. Like, that's a difference, man. Like, that's the spark you wanted. You wanted to find a spark. Well, you came into the press conference looking shell-shocked after your most impressive win of the season. What does that say to the rest of your locker room? What does that say to the rest of your coaching staff? What does that say to your city? What does that say to your fan base? To me, this faulty gamesmanship is an absolute farce. And it does nothing for the team. It does nothing for the team. The Cardinals are going to prepare for this offense. There's only 1 tape out on Jalen Hurts. So they're going to prepare for this offense by studying Carson Wentz anyway. You're not really... there's 1 game of tape. There's like 1 true game of tape on Jalen Hurts. There's a game and a half. How much are you taking away from Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals defense studying the Eagles offense? I'm sorry. I don't understand it. It'd be one thing if these 2 guys had split the season and Wentz was coming back from an injury and he wasn't benched. Like, give me a break. And frankly, if they were to go back to Carson Wentz, what would that say to all the young players in the locker room who are going to be with this team for the foreseeable future? That, oh, okay, cool, you use Jalen Hurts as a spark, and now you're going to go back to the guy who was slumping for 12 weeks. Ridiculous to me. What do you got to say to that, Chris?
First off, are you feeling okay? It's like you had to get that off your chest.
I just don't
say it with your chest.
Look, honestly, like I care about this only because I don't like to be lied to or have my intelligence basically joked around about. Like, come on. Like, this is common sense. Why would you not start Jalen Hurts? And we all know Wednesday he's going to be like, well, gee golly, I had a conversation with the quarterbacks and we're moving on with Jalen Hurts for week 15. No, duh, Doug. Like, just say it, bro. Like, this is like, seriously, it's not about the team. I don't care about their success. I don't care about any of that. What I'm saying to you as a person and as a leader, I do not see what the value is in Doug Pederson just taking half measures and prolonging the inevitable. You know what? Like, I mean, this is like at the end of Endgame, or when Thanos is like, I'm inevitable. Look, Carson Wentz isn't about to put on an infinity gauntlet and say he's Iron Man, because he certainly isn't.
But he's going to go ahead and say and Thanos is going to go, and AKA Wentz is going to go, where that leads you? Right back to me. I'm telling you right now. I hope you have your Excedrin ready, because you know what? This is where I'm going with. I have no problem whatsoever with Doug Pederson's doing. You say it's not about one person. You're right. It's not about one person. It's about two people, Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. And the way that this offense, you have to take into account week by week what's going on. Wentz is going to, I know everybody's talking about trading Wentz, and you see all the different, we have different, I mean, I even wrote about like all the different destinations he could possibly go and everything. I really don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be here next year, and I think it's going to be a quarterback competition. And I really truly think, like, after speaking to a couple people and just looking back, I went back and checked a couple things throughout the his first few games this season, and I'm in the process of doing like looking at the other stuff. He's salvageable, and you have to, even despite he's salvageable, he was struggling the last time, and I think this last week and a half of being on the sideline did him well. I think you really have to do weigh your decision week in, week out. You have to see what's going on. You can't just know. Now, don't get me wrong. Jalen Hurts played decently yesterday. I think that he left some, even in a minute, they left some money on the field. And
don't tell Scottie Pippen.
Oh, Scotty's got some other issues going on. That's so fun.
favorite NBA player of all time, by the way.
Yes, he's good. He's a good man. I feel like I'm Pippin on here. It's fun. Anywho, when you look at this, you have to get gamesmanship, because I know everybody's going to hate to say this. They are still in this race for the NFC East. And you don't want to send that message to everybody else on the team that you're just going to go ahead and just say, hey, you know what, we're going to tank just to see what we have. You still have a lot of veterans on this team. You still have a lot of people that are here that can still make a run possibly. So you have to see who gives you the best matchup depending on the matchup. And against the Cardinals, you don't know. I know you say Hurts only has one thing of tape. Saints made some adjustments in that second half, and he wasn't as effective as he was the first time. So the defensive coordinator is going to start looking and see, oh, well, the Saints did this. Let me go ahead and put a couple wrinkles on there, and then you have to worry about that. I mean, there's too many things and factors to go ahead and just rush into having Hurts be named a starter. You just cannot rush in to do that. And I have no problem with Pederson's doing here. He has to do it and make the best informed decision, not just quickly out while you're in there. Best informed decision to wait for this team.
Okay, fair. And you talk about guys being salvageable and their feelings and making assessments. Well, why is he coddling the fifth-year veteran and completely leaving the rookie out there in the cold? I understand there's a relationship long-term here, but kind of feels like the fifth-year veteran shouldn't be the guy you're worried about emotionally.
Come on,
Um,
Mike. Us quarterbacks are very fragile people. We have a lot going on inside
Listen,
of our minds.
don't get me wrong. I'm sure our boss would tell you I'm as sensitive as they come, but like, I just think like, I just my point is like I don't understand all this posturing. So let's get into the game itself, okay? Um, I I think I think that Jalen Hurts was fine, okay, and fine was something that they were not getting from Carson Wentz. Do I think he was great? No. Do I think he was good? Meh. Okay. He was good for, relatively. But what did you take away from his performance overall?
I think the one thing that I really really liked that he did is he was steady and he was very calm and poised. He was very poised with everything that was going on, and the fact that he was able, it definitely the Eagles definitely ran with a scaled down version of their offense. They really did. And with a rookie, it's understandable. You don't want to go ahead and throw everything on his plate, and next thing you know, you're like, hey, okay, he's got thinking too much. You just want him to react. And when I had a chance to talk to Lincoln Riley, his coach last year, he harped on making sure that he wanted to see Jalen be decisive. He wanted to see him make that first decision and he stick with it. And that's one thing that I saw he did better than Wentz has done the last couple weeks. He saw his first read. He went and reacted. He didn't double clutch. He didn't think, look at the guy who was open, think about it for a half split second, and then the guy who was covered once again. He went ahead, he rolled out in the pocket, he used his athleticism, he saw that was something that was quick, and he made accurate throws. That's the other thing I saw. He made accurate throws while he was on the run. So he did that great. Now, did he miss some reads of some guys that were open? Yeah. Did he also in the same vein I said he saw maybe his decisiveness and through that, there were a couple times where he had a receiver wide open. If he saw him a second or two early, it could have been even bigger plays where he double clutched. One Goddard was going across the middle and cross route, I think, in the second quarter, and he could have hit him way earlier, but he didn't do it. And it could have been he could have threw him open, and Goddard could still been running. But I liked what I saw for a first start. I mean, do you feel as if he can go ahead and continue growing? Do you feel like he can? Do you think we saw most of what Jalen Hurts can do? Do you think he can grow more in this offense?
I do. I think I like the way he keeps his eyes down the field. I was super impressed by the touchdown throw to Alshon Jeffrey. He was about to get creamed and did actually. Like there was a roughing the passer penalty and it didn't matter, and he was able to get it like right on Alshon Jeffrey's chest. Impressive play, like just outright impressive play. I think you know we can't measure Jalen Hurts against Carson Wentz's career, but if we measure him against this season, it just kind of felt like he had more control and competency of the offense. Now, again, like you said, it was shrunk down, it was changed, it was minimized, but that doesn't mean that it was bad. Like I thought Doug called a great game. I thought it was one of Doug's better games. That said, the wide receivers didn't really play particularly well. The tight ends were fine, but that's been a staple of this offense with Wentz or Hurts or Nick Foles for that matter. I thought the offensive line did a really good job in pass blocking. The run blocking was fine, in my opinion. PFF graded them poorly, which I thought was weird when you have a quarterback, uh, you know, who's running for 106 yards and you have Miles Sanders running for 115 yards. But look, I thought the running game really was effective, and I think that's why this thing can work. I've been in favor of a run first offense since the bye week, and what I like about Jalen Hurts' effect on the offense is he kind of forces you to be a run first offense, which is what I think this team's strengths are. If you look at the way they've been able to develop talent on offense, it's offensive line, running back, and tight end, and that's it. So that tells me that you want a strong running game and you want a lot of 12 personnel. The wide receivers are still a work in progress, if not a failure. And I thought Jalen Reagor was used really well. He had that end around. He had a couple of deep throws. There was one where Jalen Hurts was way off, but it seemed like Jalen Reagor missed the timing there and didn't kind of show the effort you probably would have wanted in a dive. But I thought Jalen Reagor was fine for what he did. They're not going to air it out in this offense, so I think anybody expecting Jalen Reagor to have like 10 catches at any point during the season is probably unlikely. But I do think that Reagor and Hurts have some chemistry. I was kind of surprised at how poorly Greg Ward played. Travis Fulgham only had 11 snaps. I don't know if that's because Hurts is used to playing with the scout team, so that's a lot of Quez Watkins. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was active but didn't play. I've been told that John Hightower was not benched for disciplinary reasons, but I've been told that he has kind of struggled in the classroom and on the practice field. So that's a secret that I will reveal there. I've been told that by multiple sources, that he's kind of struggled behind the scenes. So that gave way to Quez Watkins, who I thought was actually the better prospect anyway, at least for what the Eagles are trying to do with a run-first offense. So it made sense from a game plan point of view. What did you think of the offense overall?
I liked what they did for the simple fact they actually used things that we saw. Well, two things. I'll start at. One, I liked that the fact on a read option, Hurts actually pulled the ball and ran the ball. Wentz did it here and there. Given that his injury history, that he didn't pull the ball as much and take it on those read options. But the only way you can really be effective on plays like this is if the quarterback actually makes the right reading that end, or linebacker, depending on how they have it set up, or B, make sure that, and then that's once you only pull it, you actually run effectively and make it a threat, so that when both the running back and the quarterback have a chance to do that. I like what they did there. Second, schematically, I like what the Eagles did as well too. How many times have we seen Reagor go right behind, run that motion, that bend motion? He goes right behind Sanders, whoever the running back is, and he's not a threat. They don't even throw it to him. They don't run the ball to him. They just go ahead and just hand it off to the running back. Well, they actually did that. And the thing, what you have is not only do you have a quarterback when he runs the zone read who can run the ball, not only do you have a running back who can run the ball, you give the ball to Reagor around the end. It's almost like you're running a triple option in a way. You have so much stuff that you can run off of it. And I like the way that they schematically did that. And it opened up a lot of lanes for that offensive line. I mean, I have no problem at all what they did in the passing game. And I will I will set up right now. Who caught that touchdown pass? Who caught that touchdown pass in the first quarter? I believe that was Alshon Jeffrey. You mean to tell me he didn't disappear and he still actually looks like a competent receiver?
I mean, he disappeared for the rest of the game.
Man, he didn't look his way as much. There were a few times he was open. I will say he got away with a push off. He got away with a push off in the third, fourth quarter. He got away with one there, but there were times he get open. The one thing I never really understood, I know you have to run Jeffrey and clear out routes on it when he's running on the backside where you want to run. He's not a deep threat. I really want to see the Eagles use him, either use Fulgham or what have you. Use him on the dig routes. Use him like on the routes you went ahead and you used to run Zach Ertz with a lot, or on the outside. Use him on a dig. Use him on a comeback. Let him use that big body. He still has a catch radius. He's still able to catch the ball. Go ahead and put him in positions where he can be successful as well too, because the more you go ahead and tailor his offense to people's strengths instead of just going, hey, Jeffrey, go ahead and run down the field, run a deep route down the field. Nah. Hey, Jeffrey, now, would you feel better with Jeffrey going ahead and running a fade route at the goal line? Yeah, I would. So just make sure not only him, but Fulgham and all these other guys, you make sure you go ahead and you play to their strengths. And I think a lot of these guys, they give it the opportunity, they can go ahead and prove they can still perform.
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is an offense that needs to be filled out. I mean, this was a start, as Doug Pederson said. That was something that I agreed with. I just, maybe he thinks that it's washed after this, and they gave away all their notes because they needed to get down and seal this game after giving up they had a 17-point lead at halftime, and then the Saints kind of came roaring back a little bit. But on defense, look, they shut out the Saints in the first half. It was an impressive showing. I'm not sure I'm completely convinced that Jim Schwartz has saved his bacon. I do think his unit has played inarguably better over the past 5 games in the offense. But I just kind of, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of inconsistent performers. They also seemingly lost Rodney McLeod to a major injury. We'll get more updates on that throughout the week. Avonte Maddox went down. Darius Slay went down. I mean, Jalen Mills had to go play corner. It was, there were some collateral damage to this game, and I do wonder how much the defense gets sustained moving forward. What did you think of how the defense played?
Well, I like the way they definitely got pressure on Taysom Hill, and this is where I think the Saints really missed Drew Brees because the Eagles with the 5 sacks. I mean, they were getting after the pressure, but with Brees in there, he's able to get the ball out quickly, even though it doesn't have the same zip as he used to do. He's able to diagnose what's coming on, get the ball out quickly, hand see the rope receiver, bam, it's out. That's where it was a benefit, I think, having Taysom Hill back there. I like the way that the Eagles contain, especially with how many times quarterbacks have burnt them when it came to the run. I like the way they actually rushed them. They using that mush rush at times, staying in their lanes when they were doing that. The back seven, the linebackers, I thought, considering everything that happened when it came to the injury, you didn't have TJ Edwards. I thought they did a decent job. Go ahead and contain them. I mean, you contain Alvin Kamara. Was it? Let's see, he had 11 runs for 50 yards. I mean, anytime you contain him, well, you tell he misses Drew Brees, but he anytime you contain a running back like that, you're doing a good job there. And I think it got a little dicey there, like you mentioned, as it was Slay went out with that head injury, and it looks like it's that knee injury with McLeod and Maddox. It's rough because you keep seeing him. He can't stay on the field. He can't stay healthy. It's you're becoming less reliable now, and so you have to rely on Nickel Roby Coleman getting in now. It's rough to see. It's going to be tough, especially with those wide receivers the Cardinals have next week. We'll talk more about that later in the week, but this defense, I mean, overall, considering the opponent, considering the mind that they had on the opposite side of the field and Sean Payton, I think he did a good job. I still think, in my heart of hearts, I still think Jim Schwartz will be here. I know it's not the most important thing, and I'm not saying just to say that because who else are you going to bring in at this point? Who else are you going to promote? I know Burke's on the staff, but you may be getting more of the same, considering that he's been under Jim Schwartz for a while. In my heart, I feel like he's here for at least one more year.
Well, I think it depends on what you get with the coaching staff, how that all shakes out. So I don't think anybody's getting fired midseason. I don't think that'll happen, but I do think it depends on what kind of comes out of all this, right? If Doug Pederson's gone, who's to say the new head coach will want to keep Schwartz? Who's to say that Schwartz will want to stay? There's a lot to be figured out. So I asked for some questions, wanted to take some from Twitter. Give me 2 seconds as I pull those up. So here's some good ones. So Steve Tuff asks, what are your top 3 offseason internal roster moves if you're the GM? Guys already on the roster, cuts, extensions, trades. Well, I mean, I think number one, you've got to figure out what you think of Carson Wentz now and moving forward. I think you've got to look at the cost benefit analysis of potentially trading him. It's going to be difficult to trade him. I don't know why national people constantly think like this is going to be a thing. I think he is tradable, but I think it's going to be very difficult to pull off, especially for the right amount of compensation. Listen, there are people out there who think they can get a 1 or a 2 for him. I don't see that because other teams have the leverage of knowing that that the Eagles would, if the Eagles are open to it, that they'd want to trade him and kind of get bailed out from a money standpoint. Teams can use that leverage pretty well. The contract's not terrible if you're trading for it, but the Eagles need to get the right value for him in order to kind of keep that $34 million on the books, because if not, you're just paying a guy to not be there. And I don't think that that's smart business. I think my other I would extend Derek Barnett because you got to get that $10 million cap number down. I don't think cutting or trading him is the right move. This team shouldn't be. Well, Derek Barnett doesn't put up great numbers. I think he's played pretty well this season, and you shouldn't be looking to get rid of young, homegrown talent. And then I think the draft, you need another dynamic wide receiver, or a dynamic wide receiver, I should say. I think Waddle or Smith or Chase, those are the three guys that I would target if you have a top 10 pick. What about you, Chris?
I'd say if they go ahead in a position that they have to go ahead and they still are able to go ahead and get Devonta Smith, I'm going ahead and do that. I know you don't really have the draft capital to move up to ensure that, but he's one guy I think that if you paired him with Rager, you definitely do that. So that's one move I'm doing. I'm actually going to go out. I know you have all these offensive minds. I know you have Pederson. I know you have everything else. I'm going out and see who's available as an offensive coordinator and giving him play calling and letting Doug be the overseer, the overseer of the whole entire team, and just almost like the CEO and just checking things out. So that's the second thing I'm doing. For the third one, I think it's come time that I'm asking Fletcher Cox to see if he can restructure again, because I think I think he's playing well, but I think you're going to start seeing him go on a decline. Malik Jackson, I'm sorry, he's nice. I think you go ahead and use and get a guy like Raekwon Smith or get somebody in the later rounds of the draft to go ahead and provide that push. And if I ever give a 3B, I'm looking forward to see if I can get something for Andre Dillard, because I'm ready to roll with Jordan Mailata as my starting left tackle from here on out. And if somebody's willing to go ahead and give a fourth for Andre Dillard, I'm all for that. That's what I would do personally.
All right, so AR asks, regardless of where the Eagles pick in the draft next April, do you think they should pick a good player or a bad player? Great question. I would say a good player. What about you?
Well, given past history, I think you want to go ahead and stay with history, so you got to pick a bet. Now, yeah, I think they're going to go ahead.
Dollars to donuts.
And this is just me talking in my head and everything. I think there's going to be a reckoning somewhere within that scouting staff, personnel staff. I wonder if Weidl's going to be here. That's just me talking out loud. I have no knowledge, but I really wonder if Andy Weidl is going to be here at the end of this season. So it depends on the philosophy they take. I know they valued speed the last draft. I want to see if the personnel staff is coming back completely intact. That's where I'm at on that.
All right. So let's go to our Eagles extra questions. So one of our loyal subscribers asked, since the Eagles don't have an offensive coordinator, does Pederson put together game plans and call plays? If that's the case, isn't it unusual? So it's a collective group. He'll get feedback from Deuce Staley. He'll get feedback from Press Taylor, the passing game coordinator. He'll get feedback from running game coordinator Jeff Stoutland, who all put together the game plan. Aaron Moorhead might have some responsibilities in certain situational calls. Rich Cangarello monitors and creates for the red zone. It's kind of like this stew of minds kind of that put it together. It's not unusual. There are guys who are head coaches who have offensive coordinators who are just in title, and then those two guys put the plan together. But Pederson has like a slew of offensive minds that he likes to kind of pick and choose from, and so it's kind of like a puzzle for them, which I guess is unusual just because they have so many assistants. But I hope that answers your question. Another subscriber asks, is it just us, or did Hurts truest spark the whole team? Oh, I guess it's a typo. Did he spark the whole team? Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the defense played pretty smart football. The special teams unit had some good plays and coverage. I thought overall the team kind of really grasped the change and kind of went with it. What did you think, Chris?
I think it was for what Doug wanted him to do. He went out and established it. That offense really responded to him, and I think I think it was the right call to go ahead and start him this last game and in the poll wins in the previous game against the Packers to go ahead and jumpstart things, to go ahead, because there were opportunities that were being left on the field throughout this whole entire season up to, but more so the last few weeks. And I think what Doug got what he wanted out of Hurts. So he really truly did light a spark. And I really think the defense actually responded as well too, feeling like they had to take more responsibility and onus, especially having a rookie quarterback under center.
Yeah, I agree. Another question in regards to Travis Fulgham: has the team articulated why they only target him 4 times in the last 3 games? If you take out Rager and Goddard out of the offensive game plan, the wide receivers are back to being severely hampered. So I think from our standpoint, we've kind of discussed it a little bit. Travis Fulgham seeing pretty strong coverage when he's in there. I think people are very much aware of him. I don't think he's done particularly well with his routes off press coverage. I think you're kind of seeing why he was cut by a couple of teams prior to getting here. Teams are just keying in on him, and I think when he's struggled against man coverage, I think he's better against zone. What do you think, Chris?
I think he needs to go ahead. This offseason, if he really wants to remain on the team and have a good shot to being truly productive, he needs to work on his hands, get it fighting off. It looks like he goes ahead and absorbs those shots from the cornerbacks when they go ahead and press them. He needs to go ahead and learn how to fight them off, almost do like the quasi karate chop move when you see that cornerback coming up to go and impress you. You got to go ahead and fight that off and not be thrown 2 or 3 yards inside or outside your route that disrupts the timing and everything. So that's the main thing he has to go ahead and do. I think it's mainly going ahead his releases. If once he goes ahead and fixes his releases, I think he'll be fine.
And then I guess our last question is: how did the individual offensive linemen play? Chris, I'll let you take that one.
Sure. I thought Mailata did well. I thought, especially with the outside, especially facing a guy like Cameron Jordan. When it came to left guard, Sayamau, I thought Sayamau had a pretty strong game. Herbig struggled a couple times, but I think when you saw the way that Hurts was able to move around the pocket, I think he did all right, and he compensated for that and covered some of that stuff up. Kelsey was solid as ever, and the main thing that I was really worried about were snaps, because it seemed like he had some issues in prior games snapping the ball to Jalen Hurts, but that didn't seem to be a problem at all. I think when you look at Jack Driscoll, I think he's still working his way into that right tackle spot. He did some good things. I thought he also did some things that he needs to work on, especially when it comes to his footwork and his kick. When he gets out of that, when he goes to kicks and gets out on the edge there to go against those edge rushers, I think he still needs to work on that. But I think overall, I think they had a pretty solid job, and I think it reflected that in the rushing yard total.
Remember, you can sign up for Eagles Extra at NJ.com/text. 2 weeks free trial, so you can come kind of feel out the process as we kind of head into the home stretch. It's going to be very valuable during the offseason with roster moves and the draft, and we'll have up to the minute analysis and breaking news on there. You get the breaking news, so you don't have to wait for Twitter to hand it to you or open your phone. We text it right to you, and you can have conversations with us, ask us questions. It's a great service. We enjoy it, and Chris and I are really going heavy on it over the next couple of weeks. We're going to eventually set up a weekly Q&A session as well. Chris, where do the Eagles go from here? What would you do at quarterback? Any changes you would make on offense or defense?
I think I would definitely go ahead and I probably would play Hurts again the second week. I think he needs to go ahead and I think against this Cardinals defense, I think he presents his own unique challenges. It's not going to be an easy game. I think it's going to be a little tough. I think on defense, you may have to go back to a lot of zone and a lot of bend but don't break more so than ever, especially with the injuries on to McLeod in the back end. You don't know if you're going to have Slay how far along, if he's does have a concussion or if he's in the protocol. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a lot more adjustments on the back end, and it's going to be interesting on defense. I mean, what do you see coming up this week?
Well, I mean, I've said quite often that I think this team is stuck between a door frame. On one side of the door frame, there's the playoff push. If they win 3 straight games, they control their own destiny and they're going to make the playoffs. If Washington loses one of their games. And then you look at, the rebuilding project. Like, I would see more Quez Watkins out there. I would try to get some looks at some of the younger linebackers. Sean Briley didn't play particularly well last night. Duke Riley had his moments. He had that interception. He had some good run stops. Alex Singleton kind of struggled. He's kind of every other game he plays well or he doesn't. And look, you got to see some new guys in the secondary because, frankly, if this is a major injury for Rodney McLeod, he might not be ready for the start of next season. Jalen Mills is on a 1-year contract. Devontae Maddox has proven that he is not a very good outside cornerback. Darius Slay is getting up there in age. The safety group is kind of in this weird mode where they've played 2 veterans, but now they might have to really rethink the way they're doing things. And then I think when you look at the defensive line, is Malik Jackson worth playing a lot now that Javon Hargrave is killing it? That's something to consider too, because Javon Hargrave is the future of this defensive line. That's why they brought him in. I think you can see Josh Sweat play a lot more in the coming games. He's been terrific. And then I think, they've got to figure out what the story is at wide receiver. Like, that's the big thing. Figure out what's going on at wide receiver, because this has happened for the last 3 years. And I think Aaron Moorhead's done a very good job. But if you're not going to target these wide receivers or they're not getting open, there's something that needs to be figured out here. And this offense really needs to benefit from the position.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
All right. Well, again, I will give my pitch for Eagles Extra. Great service, 2 weeks free. Sign up. You can join us down the home stretch of the season. Figure out if you like what you're getting, and then it's just $5 a month right after. Again, it's a huge asset during the off season. I'm sure a lot of our subscribers can comment and tell you about it. But NJ.com/text, you can download the No Huddle Show podcast wherever podcasts are available. For Chris, I'm Mike. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you Thursday.
Want to be sure you always look your best? The Reflections LED Rose Gold Makeup Mirror from Conair makes it easy, with all the features you need to groom and apply makeup with precision. Lifetime LED lighting won't ever dim or diminish, no replacement bulbs needed. One-time magnification provides a full view, or 10 times magnification for close-up tweezing and details. Designed with a beautiful rose gold finish, the mirror rotates at 360 degrees with a 7.5-inch viewing surface to attend to every feature. Makes a great gift. Go to Conair.com for the Reflections LED Rose Gold Makeup Mirror now.